This is Laura Matukaite, Media and Communication Manager at Carer Community, broadcasting live from Berlin. I'm delighted to interview Wida Schmidt, a CEO and co-founder of CC, on a topic of womanhood and leadership in the telco industry. Good morning, Wida. How are you today?
Very well, thank you. Good morning, Laura.
Thank you for making the time for this interview. I'm excited to hear all about your experience and knowledge as a woman in this traditionally male-dominated industry. Let's start with the first question. Were there any barriers, if any, when entering the telco industry as a young female professional? What were they?
First of all, let me say thank you, Laura, for taking the time to take this interview and allow me to share my insight and views on womanhood and leadership in the telco industry. Answering your question, as a presentable young lady, there are no real barriers as such to enter the industry. It's more about what comes after. Once you have started. Let's call it a glass ceiling that in many companies and organizations limits your ability to climb up the ladder.
Thank you for your answer, Wida. What are your thoughts on perceived gender differences in leadership styles? Do you think masculine and feminine leadership styles are different? And if yes, how are they different?
Very good question. Certainly, there are differences by nature. For men, there is a tendency for action and showing decisiveness. For women, it's about harmony and consensus. But this is very natural, and any such fundamental assessment may easily slip into a category of cliches. My view today is that these differences in professionally run companies have smoothened a lot through these stereotypes, at least in leadership positions, are less evident. In those well set up and run companies, good managers always try to get the very best of their people in any given situation.
Very interesting, Wida. Thank you for sharing. Tell us about a leadership style that you use at CC. Is it different from this typical male leadership approach? If so, how it is different?
Let's not be naive. As a CEO, I have the responsibility, but there's a big but. It's important to have some structured process for decision making, where each of our stakeholders, members of the community, clients, team members, key personnel, and lastly myself, contributes to making the best decisions. It works exactly in that sequence. Maximum transparency, adequate to each situation, communication, a sense of belongings, building trust, and the ability to share while maintaining effective decision making is the main ingredient to successful management. I believe this is where the qualities of feminine leadership truly step in.
That's so interesting. Based on your personal experience, what are the challenges and obstacles as a woman in this industry?
Very good question. I think women in leadership roles are not that common in the industry yet. As a consequence, positive contributions that could be brought to the fore by women in particular are not necessarily coming through. I guess a good starting point would be for more women to be involved in the ultimate stages of decision-making process, And in many companies, this still does not appear to be the case. At the same time, I would not ask for a woman's quota. That's not the point. I think it's more about still widespread a lack of ability to consider other women's perspective in particular as a huge asset to add quality and depth to any decision-making process. Moreover, for today's working women, and particularly those who are moms, at the same time, the key challenge is to maintain a balance between family, life, and work. The higher you climb up the ladder, the more difficult it is to spend quality time with the family and look after the children. Hence, I think that a good and healthy partnership where both partners are contributing equally is the key that helps to manage these challenges.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing, Vida. As we all know, most of the key roles within CC are with women. Does it have an impact on company culture? And if so, in what ways?
I find that our decision-making process per se is calmer, and we are able to keep structured and hierarchy in our process, and usually do not have any significant conflicts. But I appreciate that some women-only setups sometimes have their problems. So in that sense, gender is not so important for us. If anything, it is more of a management issue rather than gender-related one. It is the responsibility of the management team to make sure each team member is well respected, appreciated, treated accordingly, and that has nothing to do with gender.
Okay, thank you, Vida. And the last but very important question for you, Vida, is what would be your number one advice for a woman who is starting her career in the industry?
Well, in my opinion, it is work hard, have patience, be positive, and consistently go about doing what you do. And be aware of the cliches for both genders and try not to fall for any of those. Then find out quickly if you can make progress based on merits. When you hit a glass ceiling, don't waste your time trying to change it in the place where you are. Vote with your feet. Find out hopefully with a place and move on as you most likely waste your time otherwise if you want to evolve professionally. Know what you're good at, focus on it and hone it.
That's a great advice, Vida. Thank you for making time for this interview.
You're welcome, Laura. Thank you for having me.
Dear CC members, Wida Schmidt's interview will be available across all CC social media platforms, as well as CC Media Portal and GCCM Berlin magazine issue, if you would like to read that. Thank you very much for tuning in, and goodbye.